Welcome to WION Speed. I'm Akanksha Swaroop, and in the next 30 minutes I bring you the top stories from across the globe. Let's get started. The Afghanistan's Attorney General has opened an investigation into allegations that some members of President Ghani's administration are trading government positions for sexual favors. In a statement, the Attorney General's office said that it will investigate the allegations in a serious, fair, neutral and independent way. Recently released Reuters journalists and their colleagues accepted the Pulitzer Prize in the International Reporting category in New York on Tuesday. Earlier this month, journalists Walon and Cho Soo-woo were released from prison in Myanmar after serving more than 500 days behind bars. Men were arrested during their reporting on a massacre of 10 Rohingya men and boys in India. The Duchess of Sussex and former American actor Meghan Markle has opted out from meeting US President Donald Trump and his wife Melania during their UK state visit. However, Meghan Markle's husband Prince Harry will reportedly have a private lunch with Donald Trump. The U.S. organization has raised over $20 million to carry out a campaign promise by U.S. President Donald Trump to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. The group called We Build the Wall Incorporated is using a GoFundMe webpage to raise private donations for the wall that spans over half a mile within private property. The President of the European Commission said that a Brexit deal negotiated with British Prime Minister Theresa May would not be reopened. I was crystal clear there will be no renegotiation, Juncker told reporters as he arrived for a European Union summit where leaders were discussing replacements for top jobs, including his and Council President Donald Tusk's. Juncker's term at the Commission is due to end on October 31st this year. UK Brexit Party leader Nigel Farage celebrated the success of his party in the European Parliament elections on Monday. Farage's Brexit Party won 29 of the 73 British Member of Parliament seats up for grabs and almost a third of the votes in the recent EU elections. The single-issue party was started after Britain failed to leave the EU on its planned exit date in March. Farage declined to answer any questions about the future of the party if Brexit fails to happen. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has reshuffled his cabinet after delivering a majority government few days back. The swearing-in ceremony of the 22-member cabinet will take place today, although many senior positions remain unchanged. Melissa Price will no longer serve as the Environment Minister. She will be replaced by Senator Susan Ley. Senator Bridget McKenzie is the first woman in the country to hold the Agriculture Minister's position.
Senator the Honourable Matthias Cormann as Minister for Finance.
I, Matthias Paul Cormann, do swear that I will well and truly serve the people.
Malawi's elected President Peter Mutharika was sworn in for a second term on Tuesday. Allegations of rigging and sporadic violence during elections were levelled against him and his campaigners. He was declared a narrow winner by the Election Commission, and his win was followed by wide protests carried out by the opposition.
Manja anthu nsonawo ali mmwamba moti kuti zonse zikuoneka bwino kwambiri pamalo pano.
Top Egyptian militant suspect Hisham al-Ashmawi was transferred to Egypt from eastern Libya in a military aircraft yesterday. Ashmawi, a former Egyptian Special Forces officer, was apprehended in Libya last year. He has long been sought by Cairo on charges of orchestrating a deadly desert ambush on police and other high-profile attacks. Egyptian television channels showed live footage of the military aircraft landing in Cairo airport and a presenter who climbed inside to film a blindfolded and ear-muffed Ashmawi. Protesters in Sudan continue to keep up the pressure on the country's ruling military council. Protest leaders have launched a two-day general strike to pressure the military to hand over power to a civilian-led authority. Hundreds of Sudanese protesters held posters and shouted slogans outside the Bank of Khartoum to mark the beginning of the strike. Two Taliban attacks targeted Afghan security checkpoints in parts of the country, killing at least 23 members of the security forces. There have also been attacks in western parts of the country, injuring both security forces and civilians. In the eastern Logar province, insurgents overran an army checkpoint, killing 4 soldiers. The Taliban claimed responsibility for the Logar attack. Afghan opposition politicians and representatives from the Taliban met in Moscow for a conference marking the 100th anniversary of Russian-Afghan relations. The meeting was opened by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who said that Russia sees peace as the only possible scenario of settlement in Afghanistan. Speaking on the sidelines of the conference, Taliban delegates reiterated their position that no ceasefire could be possible while foreign forces remained in Afghanistan. The meeting came ahead of the Afghan peace talks, which are due to happen on Wednesday. A Saudi cargo ship is at the heart of a controversy over the delivery of French weapons to Saudi Arabia, suspected over shipment of arms and ammunition. The cargo arrived in the port of France on Tuesday. However, the ship owner has formally denied any delivery of weapons. Chinese President Xi Jinping held talks with Nigerian President Mahamadou Issoufou on Tuesday in Beijing. Calling China and Nigeria good friends, Jinping constantly hailed the strengthening political trust and fruitful cooperation between the two countries. He said China stands ready to work with Nigeria to implement the outcomes of the Beijing summit. Chinese telecom company Huawei holds onto its spot as the world's second biggest smartphone vendor. The company continued to be in the second spot, reducing its gap with Samsung in the first place during the first quarter, despite being blacklisted by the United States. The United States blocked Huawei from buying U.S. goods on 15th April. It said that the company was involved in activities contrary to national security. Tensions between Serbia and Kosovo are running high after police raided Serb-dominated areas in Kosovo. Kosovo's foreign minister said his country's authorities were set to carry out more such police actions like the operation in Serb-dominated northern Kosovo. Serbia puts its troops on full alert on Tuesday after heavily armed Kosovo police entered Serb-dominated northern Kosovo, firing tear gas and arresting about 24 people in what they called an anti-organized crime operation. North Koreans are being forced to pay bribes to officials to survive in their country due to corruption, according to the United Nations Human Rights Report. North Korea dismissed this report as politically motivated. It blamed the humanitarian situation on UN sanctions imposed for its nuclear programs since 2006. Around 10.9 million people are short of food, and further cuts on already minimal rations are expected after the worst harvest in a decade in North Korea. Intense storms and tornadoes have ripped through the midwestern U.S. state of Ohio. An 81-year-old man was killed after strong winds threw a parked car into his house. At least 52 tornadoes have swept through 8 midwestern U.S. states in the past week. Storm reports posted online showed that 14 suspected tornadoes touched down in Indiana, 10 in Colorado and 9 in Ohio. 6 suspected tornadoes were reported in Iowa, 5 in Nebraska, 4 in Illinois, 3 in Minnesota and 1 in Idaho.
A little bit of an easterly as people try to recover from this storm. I'm Dan Carroll.
Brazil's mangroves are on the front line of extreme climate change. The livelihood of several fishermen in Brazil's mangroves is in grave threat, primarily due to rapid alterations to the environment caused by climate change. The average daily catch of the fishermen has shrunk to half of what it was 10 years ago. Mangroves cover more than 13,000 square kilometers along Brazil's coast, and the water levels have risen 20 to 30 centimeters over the past 100 years. Mackenzie Bezos, the former wife of Amazon chief executive Jeff Bezos, is pledged to give away half her fortune to charity. Bezos, whose former husband is the world's richest man, was one of the 19 people on to sign the Giving Pledge, which is a campaign announced in 2010 by Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. It calls for the super rich to give away more than half their fortunes during their lifetime or in their wills. Mackenzie Bezos said in a statement, and I quote, "In addition to whatever assets life has nurtured in me, I have a disproportionate amount of money to share. My approach to philanthropy will continue to be thoughtful. It will take time and effort and care." A Bengaluru hospital witnessed the region's first thoracopagus separation surgery on Mauritius twins. It is the first ever successful attempt in such a complex case by any doctor in the world. Conjoined twins with joint heart become the third in the world, probably to have been miraculously saved through the separation surgery. The oil-rich United Arab Emirates is home to over 9 million expatriates who seize the opportunity to live their traditions back home. This includes rituals of breaking the fast and savoring traditional desserts and juices. 90% of population of Gulf states is formed by people hailing from over 100 countries. The World Health Organization emphasized on Tuesday the progress it has made in the fight against Ebola in eastern Congo, but warned that challenges still remain. WHO's regional director for Africa, Dr. Mueti, highlighted that surveillance has improved since the last Ebola attack, in which 5 health workers died, including a WHO doctor. A zip-line flight from Paris's iconic Eiffel Tower is offering thrill seekers a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see the city from above. From May 29th to June 2nd, people can experience the zip-line for free. The selection will be through an online draw on social media. It is an initiative by French mineral water brand Perrier in order to celebrate the French Open. A 3.43 carat diamond has been sold for a record $7.5 million. The diamond is being described as bubblegum pink, fancy and vivid purplish pink. The sale formed part of Christie's magnificent jewels auction in Hong Kong. Hundreds attended a costume ball at the Palace of Versailles in France. Guests donned soaring wigs and elaborate 18th century dresses to indulge their royal fantasies at the ball. The ball was themed around the infamous last Queen of France, Marie Antoinette. Guests attending the ball could also view the private chambers of Louis XIV and Marie Antoinette.